2003, 2004, Ruud van Nistelrooy scores his first game, the first goal at Old Trafford against Fulham. We win the league. 2012, 2013, Robin van Persie scores his first goal at Old Trafford against Fulham. We win the league. So yeah, I see a pattern here of Dutch strikers coming into the game, scoring their debut goal against Fulham at Old Trafford, and us winning the league. I'm not doing 1+1, but I see where this is going. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, folks. Welcome back to Knock of the Perch, your go-to podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm Dheeraj, and alongside me is my co-host Aruj, and we're thrilled to have you back after a scintillating win at Old Trafford.
Hi everyone. In this episode of our pod, we cover the game against Fulham, our season opener at Old Trafford. Very excited about the victory. We'll try to break down the game. We will try to analyze each and every player and understand from each other how the tactics of United were and what did we make of it. Let's get started.
Yeah, what a way to kick off the season, Aruj. Brilliant first win, home win, a clean sheet, finally, something which we discussed in our preview of the match, something which we rarely get at Old Trafford these days, a rare commodity. But yeah, good first win. Understandable, players were a bit rusty. A lot of them didn't have as much minutes in the preseason as we would have liked. That being said, a good first match, a good first wicket. What were your initial thoughts on it?
No, absolutely. I mean, while we only won 1-0, I think the performance was extremely strong in comparison to last year, where we also won our first game of the season 1-0 against Wolves. Wolves had pretty much dominated us that game. So on the back of it, it might seem just like another 1-0 victory. But this one felt different. This one feels like the team has the confidence. The team showcased the performance. And it sets up the rest of the season really, really well. And I'm very excited about some of the new signings, how they played through and how, even though it was just the first game, how the entire squad of 14, 15 people that were involved, they played in unison. They were very well together, and I'm very excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, all players in the squad, they did their part, even though many players didn't get as many minutes as we would have liked. We saw the back four of a new back four, should we say, very familiar Maguire-Licha partnership, but Mazraoui got his debut. What a brilliant performance by Mazraoui, by the way. Bayern fans described him as a playmaking fullback, and I believe that is a very apt introduction of him to Old Trafford. They saw what he can do in a game which was lacking in Van Bissaka's game, I believe, whereas Van Bissaka was through the best one-on-one defender we had ever seen on that right flank. Going forward, he was a bit lacking. Mazraoui did show his qualities coming in. First game without any pre-season with United. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, man, he just, it felt like he's been playing with this team for years. I mean, he was very, very comfortable. Many people had described him as press resistant, and one could see why. People were calling him out as a player who can maneuver around, find solutions, and ensure that we are pushing the ball forward. A lot of times he would be seen in that midfield area when the play was being built from the left. So I think that was very tactical and it came naturally to him. So I think if that is the kind of tactics Erik ten Hag wants to set up going forward and it comes naturally to Mazraoui, I feel this right back is a spot that he could nail down. And once Shaw is fit, I think it could be between Dalot and Shaw as to who plays on left back if Mazraoui continues to play like this. And let's talk for a minute about what a steal at 15 million, man. I mean, in this day and age when we are talking about players commanding 50, 60 million just on basis of potential. This guy is 26. He's not very old. If he remains injury free, is good like 5-6 years in front of him at the least, maybe more. But in at 15 million, I mean, we got I think 18 million for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, so it's pretty much a net positive deal if you look at that, and it transforms the style of play completely. So yeah, I think brilliant sign.
Yeah, the familiarity is also there. He's played with Onana before. He's played with De Ligt in three of his teams before this. This is his third team with De Ligt. He's played with him in Ajax. He's played with him at Bayern, and he got his debut by Erik Ten Hag itself. So there is a familiarity with the style of play as well. He knows what does Erik Ten Hag demands of players. We discussed this before the game, that how the game would be decided at the wings. We did see Mazraoui nullify all the impact which Iwobi could have had on the game. He was right on top of him. The further he pushed on in our attacking half, the further Iwobi and the defender had to track back. That's just Fulham's compact shape was affected by how forward Dalot and Mazraoui were in their other half.
Yeah. No, I am also low-key excited for Mazraoui to play with Antony and see if he can unlock Antony as well. Probably in some of the cup games or somewhere else. But yeah, that is something for later. Okay, let's break down the game. We'll come to the other players as well. But what did you make of the game right from the top?
So we had a shaky start of the game. That being said, we grew into the game, and what I loved about this game was the kind of pressing we did from the flanks, from the middle of the park. The kind of unified pressing we did as a team allowed us to have a high line as well. So that was something which created chances on its own. As much as we pressed, we recovered ball in the very offensive positions. And Casemiro, who was not really leading the press, but he turned into creator for this game. He created like three big chances in this game, which two of them, which I believe they could have been goal. If Bruno had a few more minutes in his bank, I believe Bruno would have scored those goals in any other. 9 times out of 10, he'd score those goals. So yeah, pressing was one thing which I really loved about this game.
Yeah, you're right. I think in the initial 15 minutes, and I was looking at the stats, till the 20th minute of the game, we did not have any shot, and Fulham had 3 shots by then, and which is where I think the team was still sort of coming to terms with the pace of how Fulham is also managing the game. But I think this is something as United, even the manager may be on the lookout for. It happened against City when we started the game slow. We grew into the game and then played really well. It happened against Fulham as well. So I think as players get into the groove, they have that intensity to maintain for 80-90 minutes. I think they will start the games better also. But I think now it has happened 2 out of 2 times. So it's something that we should be on the lookout for. And I think what we were seeing is when the forwards were sort of stretching forward to press and defenders were maintaining a high line, when the opposition has a speedy player like Adama Traore, if they can get into certain spaces, because that chance that Fulham created with Adama Traore sort of out-muscling and outpacing Casemiro and Licha Martinez, Dalot was way up front. So Dalot was not even in the picture at left back. They intercepted the ball, passed it on to Adama, and Adama was pretty much free. So I think the team did better after that. I think they were marking Adama more closely, and I think few minutes later when Licha sort of out-muscled Adama Traore, which doesn't sound right.
Sent him to the gym.
Yeah, sent him to the gym as per Licha himself. But I think that was something that in-game tactical management also came through, so which was a good thing. But after the 20th minute, I think it was all United for the first half. I mean, we had 6 shots and few of them were chances we should have converted. You talked about the Bruno chance, and you could see everybody put in that effort. I mean, Casemiro was also pressing. He was also trying to make those runs. I mean, his pace is not there, but he was, there was a bit of a game management just by Casemiro himself to say that, okay, what I'm good at, what are my limitations, and how can I overcome that. But he was very good. I think probably the contender for man of the match. But yeah, we kept pressing first half. Ahmad looked lively. Bruno obviously looked very creative. Mazraoui was coming into midfield. Menu and Casemiro were solid. So I think this entire sort of a network was getting us those chances, and we should have converted. I mean, we should have gone into the halftime at leading the game.
Rashford wouldn't get the plaudits for this game, but for me, he made the runs. He made the runs. He created those chances for. He could have had two assists. Trust me, he made a good big. He created a big chance for Mount, which could have been a goal. He created in the last minute of the game. He created a big chance for Garnacho, which any day should have been a goal. Just the fact that Garnacho is just returning from Copa America and hasn't had that many minutes in the bank is the reason why he didn't score that one. But yeah, these two chances for me should have been buried. And I believe Rashford had a decent game, if not the best of his games. He had a decent game.
I agree. I mean, I don't know if he still is our best player on the left, but he did have a decent game. Not many complaints from him, but he still felt like a player who was in his second gear, third gear, and there is a step up that Rashford can make. And you expect goal outlays from Rashford as well. And just trying to understand the shots, Rashford didn't have a shot in the game. So I was just looking at the stats, no shot in the game. So it will be interesting. And by the end of first half, and we were texting over when the game was going on as well, this game was crying for a proper nine, right? The kind of chances that we were creating, Bruno got into those positions, could not finish. Even starting of the second half, the chance you talked about, which Mount should have done better. Again, had there been a Rasmus Højlund or probably Zirkzee at that point in time, the outcome could have been different. So this game was, the way we were playing was sort of crying for a number 9 to come in. And Zirkzee did come in at the 60th minute. He looked lively. He was playing pretty much all over the field. He did replace Mount though, but it felt like now Bruno is more in that 10 role and Zirkzee slightly ahead, but both of them were sort of moving freely around. What did you make of the substitutions in Zirkzee in specific?
Yeah, I was not very sure about the substitutions as we brought in two centre backs in the game, and that the Zirkzee substitution was very inspired. Zirkzee is the kind of player which I feel the centre backs can never relax about. Even though their workload is reduced because he's not a proper poacher in the box who they have to mark all the time, they think he's in their vision, but his game intelligence is as such that the fact that he drops in between those lines makes it very confusing for the centre backs to mark him. If they go too much forward, they basically lose their line, offside trap line. If they don't, they run into the danger of him approaching them with the ball, and then they have to be reactive more than proactive, right? So Zirkzee himself in his interview explained he's a 9.5. This was Zirkzee in a nutshell. The goal was him in a nutshell. Not a brilliant goal. What a brilliant! I'd like to call it a deep goal. McTominay was on the pitch at this point of time. We recovered and recycled the ball via Martinez. Martinez had a poor first touch, yet recycled the ball to Bruno. Bruno just shimmied past his marker and had the game intelligence, had the vision to find Zirkzee. Zirkzee was also able to drop in this number 10 space because Rashford and McTominay both were pushing on the pitch. That's what created the space for him. And as soon as Zirkzee got the ball, he saw Casemiro was open. Casemiro just did a simple layoff to Garnacho. And again, for Zirkzee to have that space to make that shot, very important that he has the space for it. And this is what was provided by both McTominay as well as Rashford, who were taking care of about 3 defenders, I believe. Shot could have landed to either McTominay. Zirkzee was the lucky, recipient of that. And what a shot, really good finish to that goal.
Absolutely. And Old Trafford erupted after that ball went in. It was something that, would have given immense amount of confidence to Zirkzee. It sets him up really well. I hope he is able to carry on from there. And even after the game, Ruud van Nistelrooy, the way he embraced the players. Firstly, he embraced Garnacho after that miss, which should have sealed the game, made it 2-0. But I think that's fine. And after that, he embraced Zirkzee and sort of had a little bit of a passionate moment with Dallo as well. while these guys were entering the tunnel. So all in all, it was a very happy feeling ending that game. Let's talk about each of the players, what we made of the players. Let's begin from goalkeeper Onana. What did you make of him?
Yeah, a decent 8 on 10 performance. Made the saves when he could, maintained, like marshaled the back line very well. Dropped in between the centre backs when he had to build from back. I believe a decent performance. He had a very good save, in fact, in the sixth
Yeah,
minute
the save
when,
from Tete
yeah, Tete,
was a
when,
long shot, probably going
yeah,
in. I think he was acrobatic and he saved it well. So I think
yeah.
it was a decent performance from him. Mazarawi we discussed. I think top game he had. If he can consistently deliver that 7.5, 8 on 10 performances, we are set for a good one. Centre backs. What did you make of the centre backs?
I believe Licha is immense for us with his personality. He didn't have his best game this Fulham game, but yet did all the basics well. We discussed how he was out-muscled by Traore once, but he did recover from that. But what a centre back performance from Maguire, though.
Yes.
Won most of his aerial duels, marshaled the players. He created, saw those, off the field, cross field balls. Perfect 9 on 10 performance from Maguire for me. What did you make of Maguire?
No, absolutely. Maguire was at his best, and I don't know whether it is signing of Lenny Euro and Delict that is probably bringing out another level in him. There were rumors that probably he is considering a move to maybe Leicester or somewhere else where he'll get more game time, as he may be, when everybody is fit, probably fourth in our pecking order of centre backs. But at this point in time, the manager displayed the confidence in him to start the game, and he repaid the faith the manager had. He was extremely comfortable throughout the entire game. He did not panic. He was winning his duels. He was going ahead with his tackles and not making a mistake there. So I think the confidence is back for Harry Maguire, and he's a very resilient individual is what I feel. From a personality trait standpoint, I think he's gone through a lot of lows. He has always had this high transfer fee at the back of his mind. Finally, I think some of those things are coming off. It's not being talked about as much, and I think that's starting to give Harry Maguire a little more confidence. I was just looking at certain stats. He made 5 clearances, which was the highest. He made 3 interceptions. Only Menu had more interceptions than him. He had 2 blocks, which is also decent. In terms of aerial duels, he had 5 aerial duels that he was involved in. I think he won most of them. So yeah, I think all in all, a very solid performance by Harry Maguire.
No, definitely, definitely. What about Dalo? I don't think he had the best game going forward, but that being said, he defended well. He kept his own. He didn't light the world on fire with his forward runs. His equation with Rashford isn't, again, the best of equations we see. He didn't make his trademark overlapping runs as well. But that being said, this is just the first game of the season. I believe these patterns and these runs will come as we move forward the season.
Also, as much as we like to say that Dallo can play both fullback positions, right fullback is his preferred one, right back is his preferred position. So left may not come as naturally to him. So, which is where, and obviously he's a right-footed player. So, in order to make those crosses and make those passes, you suddenly have to take an extra step of coming to your right foot when the ball is naturally coming on your left. So, it probably, this along with, and we'll discuss the mount position, are probably the two which I feel, in the longer run when everybody is fit, these are probably the two positions where we probably replace Dallo with Shaw. And if Hoyland is back, we have Hoyland up front or Zirkzee up front and Bruno in that 10 role. So I think these are the two players which will need to find another gear. Yeah. And I think that pretty much covers our defense. There was before we get into the midfield, a small interview clip. I think Eric Ten Hag spoke about the fact that this defense is different from the last year. This is a proper defense, and I think we saw that. Even though Licha and Dallo were probably not at their best, I think we were very compact, very solid, and you could see how the build-up from the back can impact the style of play. Very happy with that. Okay, let's move on to the midfield.
We already covered Casemiro was immense. So let's talk about Mount and what a good pressing performance was from him. Right, he made all the right presses. A lot of chances were made because of his incessant pressing. A lot of the times, Rashford and Ahmad on the right would be beneficial of his pressing from the middle, and this also gives a platform for Bruno to shine. The middle pivot of Case and Menu makes space for both Bruno and Mount for the wings to play better, and the Bruno also gets more into his creative positions than into the defensive positions where we saw him a lot the last season. What do you think?
Yeah, I think because Menu is developing into such a solid player who is good defensively, who is solid in an attacking position as well, I think it is allowing Casemiro that freedom as well. Because let's even go, if we were to go back to his Real Madrid days, Casemiro would always sit deep and sort of pass on the ball to likes of Luka Modric and Toni Kroos to then sort of build play from there, which is where we never saw Casemiro how creative he can be when he sort of steps up. But now I think they're sort of almost doing it in turns that, depending who's ahead and who is backwards, they decide that, okay, a lot of times you will see Menu doing a little bit of the dirty work and then Casemiro being creative up front, and similarly the other way around as well, Casemiro doing the dirty work, Menu up front. And I think this both of them are a right mix of experience, youth, their some of their skills are complementary. So I think if Casemiro can continue to build on this and at least give us one good season, this could be a really interesting pivot partnership. I was just looking at some of the stats as well. I think solid performance from Menu. He had 4 tackles, only bettered by Casemiro, who had 6 tackles. Menu had 5 interceptions, highest in the team. And blocks, Casemiro had 6 blocks. Manu did not have any blocks, but I think that's about the style of play. And even in terms of passes, I think, yeah, Casemiro had 56 passes and Manu had 41. So I think there was a lot of game plan control that was coming there. So I think very good performance.
Yeah, Aroj, what do you make of Mount's addition to the offense? Mount's offensive output, if we continue in this style of play, is it lacking in offensive output? Is the goals and assists which did we bring Mount for the goals or assists? Did we bring him for the pressing? Is what I'm trying to understand.
In an ideal world, you would want to see the end product as well. Although we have a few other creative players on the field who might be able to do that. But in an ideal world, I see Mount getting involved in goals and assists as well. We briefly talked about this in one of the earlier pods where he's a confidence-based player. Once he starts going, he'll probably have a flurry of those. But I think his output in the final third is something which is limited at this point in time. And I don't know if it is a tactical setup or if it is, something which is missing from his game right now. That it almost seems like that his role right now is to break play when the opposition is trying to build from the back. And he's very good at that. He was pressing incessantly. During the first half, I think he even got a yellow card, but he continued to do that press incessantly. And what it does, it sort of allows for mistakes to happen which others can capitalize on. So his press game is good, but I don't think it's something that everybody is happy with. There obviously that final output in the final third is something that is missing, but hopefully it comes with time.
Great, great. Moving on to the attack, we already saw how good Zirkzee entered. I don't believe Zirkzee had a lot of touches, but whenever he did come on the ball, the output was very good. He had these clever flicks and clever skills around all the areas of box. I noticed he had a very good awareness of which players are around him. I believe in most of his passes did reach the intended target. And of course, this clever entry into the number 10 role and then foraying it forward did lead to our only goal of the match. Even though this was a game where I want to see the score as 2-0 or 3-0, and I believe we could have had that score. I still feel it was, his clever play which led to the goal.
Yeah, he just had 12 touches, and 2 of them were in the goal that came through, where the other 10 passes were pretty much in non-attacking areas. So that probably is that, beginner's luck, or, as you would like to call it, that he had probably 2 touches in the core area which could have resulted in a goal, and that did. But you're right, I think the movement is there, and some of the other players in the team will also start to learn to make the most of that movement that he does. So I think it will come slowly with time, and which is where I think Eric Ten Hag didn't involve him in the Community Shield game as well, probably because it will take time for the team to get accustomed to this. But I think whatever we saw from the previous game, it's very promising with regard to Zirkzee as well, and it's very complementary to Rasmus Højlund. I mean, in games, I don't know whether it will work well against a top 6 team which is trying to high press as well against us, but we could almost play like a 4-4-2, where both are in the game and Højlund is there to sort of poach on the ball, and Zirkzee is making those brilliant creative runs in and around the box when we have the position. So I am very excited.
What did you make of the Ahmad start on the right? I thought he was quite bright. I thought he made all the right runs. I thought he very well linked the play with the fullback, as well as brought in the ball into play in the box as well. He's a very courageous player, I'd say. He doesn't shy away from the ball. He asks for the ball all the time, and he will always make positive forays into the box rather than just passing back to the fullback or passing it back in the midfield. He more often than not will the better decision what when moving the ball forward. We have also seen him move inside into the midfield to bring Rashford into play as well. That is something also which is part of his game.
No, I think you largely covered most of it. He is a very confident player. There is no denying it. There is almost like a gameplay to say that how is it that we sort of involve him more, because he can make those 1-2s with some of the midfielders overloading on that right hand side. This game, I think, was probably it almost felt like, there could have been that a little more to come from him. He was doing some of the basics right, but I think now we will have to see that next step from him, where he is transitioning from making these 1-2s and being creative on the field to actually getting those goals and assists. He did that in the preseason. Now we have to see it at the big stage, which is where I think the most pressure that players feel. And Garnacho is right on his heel at this point in time. He has come on for 2 substitute appearances, and he has done really well from those. And I think sooner rather than later, we'll see Garnacho start a game. It comes down to who between Rashford and Ahmad will be dropped on the bench. So both will have to step up, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Garnacho has been very good output-wise. 2 substitute appearances, a goal and an assist in these 2 games respectively. Could have had a goal this game as well, but it's okay. The goals will come.
You had Garnacho in your FPL team, right?
Yeah, that's why I sound a bit more sore. I could have had Hall from Garnacho. He was my differential, but we'll let that slide by a bit.
In a substitute appearance, if you can get a goal and assist, I mean that would have really sealed it. But yeah, hopefully in the upcoming games. Cool. So I think that is with regard to all the players. Okay, what next?
Who was your man of the match, Aruj? Yeah. So who was your man of the match, Aruj?
I think there were a lot of solid performances. If we had to pick one, I think it would be Casemiro. What about you?
Yeah, it was between Casemiro and Maguire for me, but yeah, I'll pick Casemiro for all the chances that he created, for all the solid defensive work that he did. Yeah, Casemiro for me as well.
And a special mention to Mazraoui for doing all he did in his first game at United.
Definitely. We also saw a few minutes from Delete, but nothing of note. I don't think he had enough time on the pitch for us to.
Yeah, too little time to.
Yeah.
All right, then I think that wraps up our review of the game against Fulham. Great first win. We'll be back with the preview of the away game against Brighton in the next pod. And hopefully you liked hearing this one. In case you did, please give us a like, share it with your friends, and give us feedback on how we can improve this further. Thanks for joining in. And as always, this is our perch. Let's knock him off. Until next time, stay united.